Test.
I like turtles.
You don't gotta get that close.
Oh,
to it. You just,
I like turtles.
The rules have changed. Bravo 6, going dark.
It was very fucking stupid.
Reminds me of my grandma.
And on that note, hey guys, welcome back.
Aloha.
Welcome back to Tactfully Misguided. I'm Patrick, and today my guest again is going to be Hunter, and this is the new digs. We've got a sign and some lights and some chairs. So that's what I've been doing for a couple weeks now. Let's talk about fucking Sear.
And a microphone that you don't have to talk into.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I don't know how to do this.
Sear. So the acronym Sear.
Stand by. Okay, back. Technical difficulties.
That's my entire life. If I die, put that on my gravestone. Technical difficulties.
We'll be back.
SEER is Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. And so SEER is a school in the Air Force. It's an MOS, which is, could be a bigger joke, Air Force. But SEER essentially is in levels. And the acronym is essentially just that. So in World War II, we had a real bad problem with guys getting captured. And they're like giving everything to the enemy. Like the best interrogators, the Nazis.
Don't break my fingernail!
And that was the thing, is these Nazis would bring in professional interrogators and they would give them food and they would trick them and they'd mess with their minds.
It's like Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
When Cable's trying to, sounds so way off of like actual military shit, but fucking when Cable's trying to like interrogate the bartender, and he's like, I won't tell you anything except everything you want to know. He's like I don't deal well with pain.
He's like, I will sell everybody out. So, great movie, and I'm so glad they're making a Deadpool 3.
Oh, with Wolvie.
Yes. Oh,
they're bringing that smooth pair of criminals down on day into it finally. Love it.
I just want to see more baby feet when he gets chopped in half. I'm just sitting there with them.
But straight shark cocking it. Anyways,
so World War II, we had a lot of problems with personnel that were shot down behind enemy lines. A lot of the guys that were doing more of the SOF-esque missions back then, Rangers, the SOE, the different directorates that were working, the Marine Raiders, all those guys that were running Jedburgh teams and stuff, they were pretty much trained to be able to do that stuff and survive, evade, resist, and escape. However, when Korea happened, we actually had Americans that straight up were captured and turned, became communists.
Yeah.
And so they came up with the codes of conduct, and then in Vietnam, more aircrew were getting shot down, and a Army Special Forces guy named Major Rowe basically was captured when he was younger. I think he was a lieutenant or a captain. And he wound up in a North Vietnamese prison camp. He also was, he's basically the godfather of SEER. He created Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape to help down pilot crews and special operation forces, whether that be SEALs, at the time, Force Recon in Vietnam, what have you, Special Forces, Rangers.
Force Recon is, from what I understand, completely gone now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They were doing away with, I may be wrong on this. It's been a while. When I was doing Corporal's course in 2016, we had recon guys in there, and we had to do a presentation on RMOS, right? So it was real easy for a lot of us. This is kind of going off topic a little bit, because that's what we do, is just kind of rant and go off on tangents a little bit, and then we'll circle right back. Like Jin Saki, we'll circle back eventually.
But I am stupid and a whore, so I can be your Saki.
You can be my Saki.
I can be your Saki. I don't have any hair though, but
yeah. Well, she might not either. We don't know. It's fucking lizard people. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I was just thinking that. I was like, these fucking lizard people.
Now she's like with CNN or some shit.
Oh god.
Fucking. But like the recon guys that were there, they did their presentation on why Force Recon is still relevant. because there was basically talks that, okay, we've got recon and we've got MARSOC. Why the fuck do we need force recon?
And so
their thing was to make their shit relevant. Mine was beating a dead horse, trying to make tracks still relevant.
Well, tracks.
Well, more
Is,
specifically, the Mark 154s, the kits.
okay.
The breaching lanes,
the lane
hitting
to get into the hinterland.
Hitting a contested beach.
Yes.
Blowing a fucking lane in it so follow-on forces can come on. Like,
well, just
don't get me wrong.
To be honest with you, Taro would never happen. Those Higgins boats did great. We didn't lose. What was it? 5,000 Marines before they even got to the beach. There's no need for tracks. I was about to be like, fucking douchebag right now. No, you need tracks. You absolutely need tracks. And when we talk about Ukraine later, I'm going to explain a very giant fuck up on the Russians' part, and it has to do with amphibious assault, essentially. Yeah. But
well, I mean, I could literally go on this tangent because as much as I loved my MLS, I dog on it all the time, but it was mine. It was my job. It was, I went into it not even knowing what the fuck it was really until I thought back to World War II and that, because that's how we got our start anyways. But as much as I love that MLS, it's dead. Mm-hmm. They came out with the fucking ACV, right? So I guess now, if you're a tracker and you're watching this, which some of you are and some of you are still in, God bless your souls. Grass is greener on the other side, guys. I guess now it's you ain't wheels, you ain't shit. Because the ACV
it's
giant.
Yas.
It was.
Yeah.
I've got it right there, buddy.
Shit.
Got it fucking tatted right there. Because it was you ain't tracks, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
But you ain't got tracks no more. You fucking got wheels.
So yeah.
Fucking y'all. Now you just sound fucking stupid. But all right. So even tracks, a platoon hitting the beach, platoon plus, which would be your fucking Mikliks blowing the lane, mm-hmm. then your actual platoon of 12, then your C-section, and then your fucking recovery vehicle, and it's chase.
Mikliks are fucking amazing. It's a rocket-assisted daisy chain of C4.
It is, but that system and its purpose on a track it was very meaningful. Not many people, and I've done this. I've shot it from the fucking ocean. I've shot it from the surf zone. 2 fucking breaches from the surf zone. They were inert. They were inert.
Oh,
because this was after 2013.
Yeah.
When the Miklit incident happened in 29 Palms and our entire system got deadlined, so we could not shoot live. But they wanted to see us shoot inert from the beach, from the surf zone, and do it that way using a blast machine wiring harness and engineers. Yeah, basically, crew chief would still fucking hit the go bang button, but the engineers they hook everything up. Because they're engineers. That's what they do. They hook it up, and then we go bang.
I think the one that was captured on video 2004, 2003, 2004
fucked up city blocks in fucking Iraq.
The Miklik launches out, it lands, and it had a failure to detonate. One of the dudes ran out there. I don't know his name. If you guys look it up, very famous video. This dude just fucking whips his dick out, does the Medal of Honor run out there to a giant chain of explosives that literally, as he said, would take out an entire fucking city block and basically set it up. I think it was with time fuse. He got popped his M81s and then fucking bounced and it went off.
See, the issue with doing that too is we had it happen when we were doing the fucking class. If that shit lands on top of your vehicle,
you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta sit there and wait 7 hours for EOD to show up to fucking disarm it. Love you guys. Anyways, back to SEER, because we go off on tangents. The whole force recon thing, trying to make that relevant. I don't understand really the reasoning why it was getting rid of. Don't fact check me on that, because I don't know if it's actually gone. I know that they were talking about it going away. So
I can talk just a little bit and tie in Talon Keyhole, which was the operations that Force did in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So whereas your recon battalions are subordinate and encompassed within the Marine Air Ground Task Force, the MAGTAF, and you know this. There's the infantry division, the support group or logistics group that's with it, and an air wing. So your Force Recon is a MAGTAF asset, technically. Yes. So we have 4 MAGTAFs if you include the reservists. Love you guys. So there's 4th Force, 1st Force, 2nd Force, 3rd Force. And respectively, at one point there was a 5th Force because they were kind of like Anglico where they had 2 reserve units, even though there were only... There's like 5 Anglicos at some point. Yeah. This may have changed. But
the only Anglico I knew of was 2nd? Yeah, 2nd.
The craziest thing about the Talon Keyhole missions that were done in Vietnam, Stingray Keyhole. Stingray Keyhole were these missions where Force Recon would go out and they would take photos. They would use like 8mm film. They had to like literally sneak up and take photos, so it wasn't digital. And the crazy thing is more Force Reconnaissance operators were killed by friendly fire than by actual combat fire. That's how good these guys were.
In Nam,
re-entry to friendly lines.
Yep.
So nowadays what you have is SEER. SEER is the Navy has their own. The Marine Corps, regular Marine Corps piggybacks off of that. The Air Force has their own, and the Army has their own. And then you have, and most of those are for aviation assets. And in the Air Force, it's an actual MOS, which is kind of weird. But if you consider that everybody there is flying or helping fly, like they don't really have anybody on the ground except for CCTs and TACPs.
I don't know. But all right. So what is it in the Air Force, right? If you're my friend Shay, pogiest of the pogues, Air Force reservist. Ooh. She no you. She basically, I guess she plans, like, does all the logistics planning for, like, say they're going out, they're doing a deployment, right? So she does a lot of, like, I guess the logistics planning for that deployment. Air conditioned office doesn't fucking work out unless she goes to the gym on her own, basically. I mean, there's people on fucking unicycles and shit, like flights doing PT and like riding, I guess one's like on a unicycle while everybody else is running. That was a story that she told me, and I've mentioned it on here before because I still think it's fucking hilarious that you can just do whatever you want in the Air Force. But yeah, so I mean,
they do the shake weight.
I'm sure they fucking do.
Yeah, they probably do. You could probably get away with that.
Air
Force physical fitness standards. Shake weight for 3 minutes. It's like holding a plank.
It gives you a nice mist at the end.
Yeah. So SEER is under JPRA, which is the Joint Personnel Recovery Agency, and it's basically DoD wide, and they're in levels. So there's the highest level is SEER C. There are some other ones that are individual that are for special operations, but essentially if you're air crew or special operations, and then Marine reconnaissance, and then to a certain extent they'll use the Navy's rescue swimmers. They'll go to SEER. Yeah. But it's exactly what it sounds like: survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And so I went to my first SEER school, which was the Navy SEER school up in Brunswick, Maine. And we did our field training in Redington, Maine. Then we wound up, I wound up going to a second SEER school that was down at Stone Bay. It was MARSOC SEER.
Yeah.
Different in different aspects. Now they have what's called full spectrum. So I had to do 2 SEER schools because one focused on SEER C, which is war.
Yeah.
And MARSOC focused on military operations other than war, peacetime, and hostage detention. So they added some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Now you get the whole gambit if you go through the one that's out of Fayetteville or the one that's out of Stone Bay. There is a lot of misnomers about it, but the guy who created it, and this is a wild story because I was in the Philippines on one of my deployments. I actually was leaving country, and I was in Manila, and the guy, his name's Major Rowe. He's the godfather of SEER. Like, he created SEER School. He was actually assassinated by the New People's Army, communist insurgency in the Philippines. They're still around today. The president, Duterte, has actually pretty much almost wiped them out, which is kind of cool. Dead communists, you know. Better dead than red.
Fed, commie killing, freedom loving hippie slayer.
But I got to go in Manila and see the actual spot where the shooting took place. So basically, he went down, jumped in his car with his driver. Guy came up with a M16A1 and dumped a mag into him. Kind of sucks, but the guy gave us everything that we had. So for the survival part, it's similar to just surviving. Whether you parachuted in or you crashed in, you burned in with your aircraft, or you just get separated.
Yeah.
Like there's very little resistance training that is
and
given.
then basically, if you all right, if you're a pilot and you crash, and I've told you this because I showed you that little Henry survival rifle, right?
Yep.
The AR-7, assault rifle 7. Fucking Biden loving pussies. Anyway, I showed you that, and I'm pretty sure you probably already fucking knew this, but that was created for pilots, not. Now, I don't know if it was originally if it was in 9 or similar. It might have been in 22 back then, but it was created towards like Korea, Vietnam time frame. It was literally created because it breaks down into the buttstock and it goes underneath the pilot's seat.
Yep.
So if they crash,
pull it out.
they pull that shit out and they put it together real quick because it takes like 2 seconds to put together. And they've got like 2 fucking mags of 22, which all of these are in 22. I don't know if they were in 9 before or what, but they were like created for that. So you've got like this little fucking pea popper that you're running around with in the woods trying to survive. Just not necessarily fucking the best thing in the world. It was innovative. I feel like they could have eventually like moved away from that and done something else, but
the crazy thing is a lot of people backseat drive and armchair this stuff. They're like, I would have done this. It's like, bro, you survived getting shot the fuck down. And plane filled with explosives and fuel, and now you're on the ground. They did tell us a pretty fucking wild story. This dude actually, he got rescued by a Navy SEAL and a Vietnamese Navy SEAL. 2 dudes. They basically had to go up and get this guy because he landed behind enemy lines and he was escaping and evading. He actually had a radio and he was able to contact, I think, a FAC, a forward air controller, and they relayed, and he was going through his evasion corridor, which was set up to where he had different search and rescue areas or locations and offsets. So you wouldn't go to that mountaintop, but say 6 p.m., I will go north of that mountaintop a mile. So if I missed that one, the next day, and then they had these special instructions. There were letters and number combinations, letter of the day, color of the day, word of the day. All this stuff is on Wikipedia. But the fucking wild thing is there was a Air Force pilot that was shot down, and all he had was this fucking pen flare. This motherfucker, and the pen flare is a 38. It's a rimfired 38, essentially a tracer.
yeah.
And this motherfucker straight up smoked an Viet Cong guerrilla. Shoots another man with a fucking pen flare. Talk about fucking ballsy, dude. Like, you imagine, like, you ejected, so you probably fucked your legs and back up, you're concussed, you just plowed through, like, triple canopy. I know we've all fucking thought about what we would do in certain situations, but push comes to shove, that dude fucking killed a guy with a fucking pen flare. So
different times.
The evasion portion, so survival is just, water, food, shelter. Evasion is how do I move, where do I move, what do I need to do to evade capture. And it goes into some map reading and orientation and your basic stuff of like things that we learned from boot camp. And there are civilians that go through this because DoD civilians do serve in some areas and aspects that may wind up as an isolated personnel. The resistance portion is when we start to get into stuff that you're kind of not supposed to talk about, but you're resisting interrogation. And you're not just resisting. Sometimes you can't resist. Like if you are zip tied in a cell, I mean that's as far as you can get. But as far as not dispelling any information, one of the funniest resistance stories was a P-3. It's a old submarine hunting aircraft, and it had trouble and it crashed in China. This was in the 90s or 2000s, and they had a bunch of SIGINT equipment on there. And the P-3 crew decided they had to stave these guys off and stay in the spotlight because it wasn't a hostile act. These guys had engine trouble. They were over doing electronic collections, and they wound up having to make a landing. They didn't really crash, but they had to make an emergency landing. So they were out there just fucking off, trying to get them to bring them ice cream. They were stalling as long as they could to get rid of certain things and to eliminate certain cryptological devices and stuff like that.
Well, yeah.
So it would be as similar to your radio operator shooting the radio so they can't get a hold of it if it has crypto.
Sidebar story off of that because of crypto. And this involves Iraq. And one of my old platoon sergeants, I won't name any names here.
Did you lose crypto?
No. I mean, losing crypto happened fucking religiously with tracks. We were the only unit that was still running the old fucking Charlies. The fucking old Charlie radio stacks. And then we had the Foxtrots. Like the more fucking slim new ones. But I'm pretty sure in like later years, as in like 2014 to when I got out and passed, they did upgrade the radios eventually, but we were running old ass Harris radios.
Yeah.
The old ass Charlies and Foxtrots. And I don't think any other fucking unit was using that shit. But Nasiriyah. So certain somebody that I know, and I heard about this. I mean, he was a good guy. He was good to me. He was really good to me, and he looked out for me. But I figured out why, because I was a little bit of a fuck up. And those of you that watch this that were in my platoon in California when I was a booty boot, you know what I'm talking about. I won't go into that. But he looked out for me after that, which made me have a promising career because of that.
Yeah.
So he was a great guy. He kept tabs with me, but then just randomly, about 2018. It was we were doing a field op down at Fort Stewart. We were doing a BSA.
Okay.
And I'm sitting in the COC and I'm talking to one of my mass sergeants. Literally, my favorite thing to do to pass time, get him to talk about fucking Iraq.
Yeah.
And it was just story time, right? And then he mentions this guy, and then he says his name, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, that was my old platoon sergeant. And he was like, "Are you fucking serious?" I'm like, because it kind of mind baffled me that he was an 18-year staff sergeant, and I know why now, because he was in charge of the C section, command and control vehicle, has all those fucking radios. You know, you've seen what the fucking mobile COC is, right, for tracks. It and its chase. They get bogged down in a shit field right outside of Nasiriyah. And in his infinite, like, let's do something fashion, like now, fucking padlocked the tracks up, did security checks, like security checks that you would do at the ramp when you're locking the vehicles up for the night. Everybody gets their fucking gear and shit and goes in grunts into Nasiriyah.
They just fucking left.
Then they just left all of that shit bogged down in a shit field right outside of Nasiriyah. Well, when they came back, guess what had happened?
Got rat fucked. Proper rat fucked.
Well, the fucking ramp to the C7 got ripped down by a backhoe, and all the fucking radios were gone.
Yeah. They
had to change the fucking crypto for the entire invasion force because of that shit.
That's what happens.
And again, he was a great guy. I highly doubt he even fucking watches this shit. But he was a great guy in later years. He was real good to me. But I had heard about that from fucking Mass Sergeant, and like many years later. And I was just like, Jesus Christ! I made fucking mistakes in my fucking time, but nowhere near that.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking epic.
Just going off of the whole fucking crypto thing.
Well,
keep going.
The escape portion of SEER is how to get out of certain situations. So depending on where you're at, what you're doing, escape could mean I'm breaking out of handcuffs in a jail cell. It means I'm getting away from a POW camp. There's different levels of that, and then there's some other courses that you can do.
It goes up to SEER level 5, correct?
C. So
it used to be called by number. Was it? It's always been
Always been letters. Okay. So A is the shit you can do online. Like
the fucking like
MCI.
It was like an MCI. Yep. I think I did that one actually.
So you wind up doing SEER, and then there are other courses. If you go into GAPRA, they wind up going down and checking out battlefields and recovering bodies and stuff like that. So GAPRA runs that. Each service and branch, to include SOCOM, has their own SEER schools. As far as how to compare that to civilians, it's kind of like that, but street smarts. So if you're going to survive in an urban environment, like things like you don't broadcast what you're doing, you don't broadcast where you're going, you don't have the same pattern of life that you would have. So if you have, like, say you work on an island, and you have one bridge to get there, they're going to know at some point you're going to come across this bridge at a specific time. But if you have multiple avenues, so there's, Highway 17 that goes into Market, you got Military Cutoff, you have all these other roads, you can vary your time and movement when you're thinking about a civilian version of this. And it's basically just situational awareness. You don't want to develop patterns. There's a dude called Ed Calderon, Ed's Manifesto, his podcast. He's a federale from Mexico.
Federale.
And
I love that you said that like an LA fucking white girl at Starbucks. I just want you to fucking know. Federale.
Federale. I got my
or a surfer bro.
My faux burrito.
My faux burrito.
Yeah, it's
fucking
$19 for a burrito in California about now.
Hey, you know what? It could be $30 for that fucking California burrito.
Remember Michelangelo's?
Yeah.
Right outside, or it was Angelo's, right?
Michelangelo. Are you talking about? No, you're talking about Alfredo. Or Alfredo's.
No, the one right out front gate in Pendleton.
Yeah, Delmar. Outside the officer gate in Delmar. It was called Alfredo's.
Oh,
and it was a little hole in the wall fucking burrito place.
Because I would go down to the harbor.
Yes, that's the fucking officer, the Delmar gate. You come out.
Yeah,
that
you
Delmar
come out of
gate.
that, and you just, instead of going left to get on the 5, you just kept going. And you went down there to.
Yeah, it was Alfredo's.
Rock and Baja was there too.
Well, that might have been closed now. I was there in 12.
Okay,
I was there in 12,
I got
13, and 14.
I got there in 2012 and left in 2017.
I was there 12 to 14.
But it was Oceanside. Yeah. It was Oceanside Harbor.
Dude, that Alfredo's was that fucking. We made it was a field day tradition. So we'd finish up fucking because I was in Delmar. Mm-hmm. I was third tracks in Delmar. Right?
That's so literally our TTL location and dive locker were right past you.
Yeah, right past our battalion.
I was probably, while you were fucking off on those tracks, I was dying in that ocean, just getting fucking drowned.
I was fucking off. Okay, busting. All right, you know what?
Well, we also, that's where we do our return, so we did, like, water jumps. So we would do a parachute jump with our boats and shit, which never fucking worked. This is why you have Amtraks. And so we had to, like, swim to our boats and bring our chutes and stuff. Then we'd come back to Delmar, and it's, like, 5 o'clock on a Friday, and everybody's already fucked off by now. Anyways, yeah. Alfredo's. They had gyros, right? No.
Fuck is gyros?
The sandwich, the gyro.
Maybe. I know. So that was my place of choice because the only fucking. It's authentic when the only person that speaks fucking English is the cashier.
Yeah.
Like everybody else fucking doesn't. Back from technical difficulties there. So Ukraine. Let's do some updates on Ukraine.
So
I love the video you sent me earlier.
Oh yeah, why you don't skip leg day?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was savage. I fucking love it. Hey, if you're a Russian and you're upset about like war crimes that are happening against your POWs, maybe you don't invade another fucking peaceful democratic country. But that aside, the Ukrainians basically got their counteroffensive going. Long story short, they mobilized faster. They were more prepared than what the Russians thought they were. They're all in. Yeah, like, they don't. It's ride or die for everybody in that country. And after the mobilization of both their National Guard and their reserves, and basically even their police forces, their KORD, which is the Cord, which is like their police commandos. Yeah. The Russians really did screw up. They didn't do an amphibious assault. They should have attempted to do that in Odessa. So they basically didn't. They basically tried to come up through the peninsula from Crimea.
Yeah.
And they really sucked. They took Kherson, which is like the only regional capital. So that would be like taking Tampa. But you haven't been able to go anywhere else. They've been kind of like locked in.
You're fucking gridlocked.
And their navy has been getting schwacked. The West, the U.S., NATO, European allies, and other countries are giving them a lot of weapons. And it's, a lot of people are like, I don't think that's the right thing. And I was like, fuck you, dude. This is probably the most justified war we've had in the last fucking 30 years.
Except we're not, like, in the war. We're just sidelining it. I mean, I've kind of grown to have an opinion on this as far as why we're there. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck are we there? It's kind of rhetorical. We're there because that, as badass as it was played out to be in the beginning with the president fighting alongside his people and shit. It's pretty fucking corrupt over there.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason our government gives a fuck. One thing, and you might not be able to talk about this. I can because I'm out completely. Don't give a fuck. I don't trust our government whatsoever. There's a reason, right? There's a reason we give two fucks about Ukraine. Because if it was anybody else, like, look at all the other fucking wars going on. Look at all the other wars that have happened with other countries.
We'll look at Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Ethiopia right now is in the middle of a civil war that has the casualty figures that are 10 times what's going on in Ukraine.
And do we give a fuck?
We do not.
Are we doing anything?
We are staying out of it.
Do you hear anybody bitching saying, "Oh my God, people are dying. Let's send them all of our ARs"?
No, nothing. Not a peep. But it is a civil war. It's an internal matter.
Yes, I get it. I mean,
because we don't have a stake.
To an extent of Russia.
We don't have a stake in Ethiopia. The only people that do are the Egyptians and to a certain extent the Sudanese.
We have something to gain.
In Ukraine, 100%.
Yes.
It's where.
Now, am I on the side of like, okay, the fucking people? I give a shit about them.
Yes.
And do I want to see their fucking country overran by goddamn Russians?
Yeah.
No.
It's a democracy.
Absolutely not.
It's a democracy, and Russia is not.
And what have we always done? We've always protected democracy.
Except for Operation Condor, Central and South America, toppling countries and collecting their fucking leaders like they were those little stones in Thanos' fist, pretty much. But
yes,
what essentially is that yes, our president is extremely corrupt. Their president probably corrupt. Can I say to an exact extent? Exactly. I don't know.
That's why I was talking very broad on it, because I can't say to an exact extent. I do know there's been dealings there, and just in the fact that, honestly, at this day and age, like, our politicians are not
trustworthy.
They're not fucking FDR.
No.
They're not basically anything pre-fucking JFK.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So if we have any involvement with anything, it's. I mean, we look what we just did to fucking Afghan.
Yeah.
Look at that shit. Like, we just did that shit last year, but now all of a sudden we care. We care so much about fucking Ukraine.
I will
Bullshit.
I will say that your Ukrainians are fighting for their country.
They are.
They actually give a shit. And I will say that Zelensky, when it push come to shove, he didn't refuse to get evacuated.
Our veterans that have gone over, because we're always fucking looking for a fight, no matter if we're out or not.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few of them that have fucking gone over there just to help. That's justified. And getting like the report back from them about training these guys, like training the fucking Ukrainians, working with them, because they even said the same thing that we talked about last time. They are originally, and this is months ago, right? They were on the same level that Russia was, as far as trying to fight with like Red Army tactics, basically. Yeah. And Trey Sharp, the guy I told you about that owns that medical supply company here.
Yeah.
Him and his business partner had went over there just to drop off medical supplies. It was supposed to be a 4-day stint trip. Ended up training these guys, working with them. So like I get that. I understand why they are fighting and why we want to be involved as veterans. Our government, however, the only reason they give a fuck
is NATO. It's 100% NATO, and the problem is that when you look at the geopolitical climate in that area, it is inside our scope. It is inside NATO's sphere of influence. What happened with Armenia and Azerbaijan, we don't give a shit about. We don't. It's a Central Asian Caucasus war between Turks and Armenians, Orthodox Christians and Muslims. You would think we would have a vested interest, but the problem is Turkey backs one and Russia backs the other, and the United States is like, I don't have a clown in this circus. When it comes to Ukraine, right next to Ukraine's Poland, NATO member country. Romania, NATO member country. Moldova wants to become a NATO member country.
Maybe that's me putting the tinfoil hat on.
You
I get that.
everything.
I understand the geographical location of, like, all right, these guys are here and they're all NATO, so, like, all right, Russia takes Ukraine.
Yeah.
What's their next fucking move?
To take Transnistria, which is a breakaway province of Moldova, which Moldova has a security pact with Romania. Mm-hmm. Romania is a NATO country. Moldova is not. Yeah. So if you attack Moldova and you have these breakaway separatists in Transnistria, which borders Ukraine, you fuck with Moldova. Moldova says, hey, Romania, you're supposed to back us up. Romania now gets involved. And it's the same thing with Poland. Poland's the next on the chopping block. They're right next to Belarus and Kaliningrad and Ukraine. Yeah. But in my opinion, I think this is the most justified we've been in probably 30 years for the simple fact that we're fucking killing a lot of Russians. They're our enemy. So is China. And people don't want to say that. Everybody wants to be all nice and politically correct. Fuck that, dude. Like, we are supposed to be...
Shit about that.
We're supposed to be the... God damn it. We're supposed to be...
me, I think.
We're supposed to be the exemplary country for democracy. We're like forward thinking, the first in science, the first in the Olympics, the first in medicine, the first in celebrities, in music, in technology, and science.
Yeah.
We've always been ahead, and one of the things we treasure in America is democracy. And there are some countries that are not ready for it. Ukraine is. Ukraine had their maiden revolution in 2014, and Russia basically invaded them. A lot of people say, hey, this war started in 2022. No, it started in 2014. It started years ago.
I remember that.
And so...
when the first attempt.
Yeah. Well,
fucking jab.
And the thing about it is we're not going to let the Russians do this. The Russians are aligned with some fucking terrible human beings, like the Iranians. Jesus Christ, those people are like Nazis with beards. They're fucking terrible.
Beards and dresses.
You look at China, currently conducting genocide against the Uyghurs, which are, it's a funny name, but they're Turkic people, they're Muslims, they're what's called East Turkestan. It's now called Xinjiang. So all these hoity-toity elitists on CNN and MSNBC, the blue-haired fucks that are downtown drinking their fucking $10 cocktails, they're going to sit there.
We're downtown people right now. All right.
They'll sit there and tell you about us gentrifying or whitewashing stuff. You know, what we did was horrible. Well, fucking look at what's happening right fucking now. Like, you have more people that are living in slavery in Africa than ever before. Yeah. You have more people in concentration camps in China right now. They're Muslims and they're in concentration camps. Yeah. So in a few years, we're all gonna look back and be like, why the fuck didn't we do anything? It's kind of like when they found out about the Holocaust. We told Pilecki, he was a Polish intelligence officer who snuck into Auschwitz. He went in there and that was his mission, figure out what the fuck's going on. And he was like, dude, death, destruction, like on a scale never seen before. And at first it was just Russian POWs. Then the Jews came, they started wiping them out. Then it was anybody that they wanted to get rid of in their final solution. This dude wound up sneaking out and told the world about it. And I will tell you this, like there's a Lions Led by Donkey podcast about this dude. It's fucking amazing. This guy's did some crazy shit. But when that was happening, military planners, leaders, and general populations, like, okay, it's not our problem. That's what we're looking at right now with what's going on over there. And if they do that shit, if Russia and this axis of evil, because they are fucking evil, they want their own way to do things. I'm more for a liberal democracy. You know, you do what you want. You pray to whatever God you want. You spend your money how you see fit. And I think that's just the American dream. Everybody's created equal. and like what you do with that creation is up to you. But when you look at Russia, their country is a dictatorship. Vladimir Putin's over there to fucking take another country.
How long is that? How long has he been there?
2001.
That's when.
So 2000. Yeah. Sorry, 2000, because he authorized the second Chechen War, which happened in 2000. I will say this: I support it on the simple fact that if you don't stop him, like he started this shit when Barack Obama in 2014.
He started losing it a lot too. He's, I think, mentally fucking unwinding and slipping a lot.
You got to understand, he's a KGB agent. On top of that, he's not getting the ground truth. Like, they've been lying to him, his generals and stuff. He doesn't get to. He doesn't get to see that, and the corruption in the Russian military is like endemic. It's so bad. But Ukraine right now, Ukrainians did one of the coolest fucking fake outs I've ever seen. They did a feint in the north. They were saying, we're going to go and we're going to take back the area by Kharkiv, and we're going to go into Luhansk, Donetsk, from north to south, out in the east. Yep, the east. And what they did first, however, is they said, we're going to take back Kherson. So they had a bunch of HIMARS hitting targets down in Kherson. They had the anti-ship missiles taking out the fleet. So they caused a distraction in the south. They ran some battalions in there. They did take heavy casualties. Ukrainians took heavy casualties. The Russians moved all their troops to the Donbass, which is eastern Ukraine, and southern Ukraine, where Odessa and Kherson is. Crimea. Sorry, not Odessa, Crimea. And then the Ukrainians just went fucking ham. And they've taken back like hundreds of square kilometers. I think it's over 1,000 at this point. Literally taking back entire sections of the country. The Russians are struggling to even get their reserves to the battlefield. There was a situation where over 40 Russians were gunned down at a training base because these assholes told a group of, they were Tajiks, that they couldn't pray. They said, you can't pray. The guys were like, okay. So they went that night, they went out and told all their buddies, their drafty buddies, and they're like, hey, don't go to the firing range tomorrow. So it was kind of weird that none of the Turkmen, none of the Uzbeks, none of the Tajiks, they didn't show up. It was just a bunch of fucking Russians, and they shot them all, like fucking full metal jacket style. And it's like, hey man, you know, I don't want to get biblical on you, but like Romans 15, like if your government is good, you should probably fall in line and behave and be a productive member of society. If your government's evil, overthrow that bitch. What our founding fathers did, straight up. You don't like the king, you don't like taxes, fight back. I think
we literally had this whole war over taxes.
Yeah. 3% taxes.
Yeah. Not what they are now, huh?
Oh, dude. You look at it's 8.9% inflation, and we only did a 4% adjustment for the military. We are. I really don't understand how. I honestly don't grasp how people think. I don't understand how they're like buying into like when they watch CNN and when they watch the motherfuckers that voted for him. They're fucking stupid.
I don't understand how they literally can sit here and still to this day. And I get it. It's because they don't want to admit they're fucking wrong.
Yeah, it's unconscious bias.
Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. But like,
it's unconscious bias.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Like, are you blind or stupid or both? Like,
and this is the craziest thing. I didn't vote for Trump on either election. Anytime I criticize Biden, the first thing out of everybody's mouth is, well, Trump this. I was like, I didn't vote for him. Is that all you have? That's all they focus on is Trump. Trump told Davos,
and they're gonna keep doing it.
Well, Trump told Davos, fuck you with this new world order thing. We're not fucking doing that. I'm all for that. Fuck those globalist elites. I don't give a shit what Europe does. Like, fuck off. Like, as long as you're not fucking causing another world war, I think we're okay. Like, I honestly don't want war anywhere, but it's there. And Russia won't stop, and we are a member of NATO, and then we have to prevent them from doing that.
This sounds fucked up, coming from my perspective on this. I think another war is needed at this point.
Probably.
Because, and I think of this economically.
Yeah.
What does war do? Let's look at it this way. Back in the day.
Let's look at it this way. What happened in the 1920s? We had our big boom. You look at the 1930s, Great Depression. 1940s, 2 atom boys got dropped and tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people died.
Yeah.
Now we look at the 2020s. We had a pandemic, Spanish flu, COVID. We look at the Great Depression. We're hitting a recession. It's 100%. Bloomberg News said it.
I don't think a recession. I think we're hitting a fucking
I
depression.
think, it's going to bottom out. But we're in a recession, and they're saying there's no recession. It's like that dog that's on fire, and he's like, everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine.
But you can't say this out loud because then you're a conspiracy theorist. How's this for a fucking conspiracy theory? This will fucking get you insane right now. Fucking, what's his name? Alex Jones. Alex Jones was fined over $900 million. That's almost $1 billion for being an asshole. Sure, okay, you're being an asshole. You know what the Sackler family and the fucking pharmacy companies that poisoned America for over 2 decades with opioids got? $600 million fine. You are fined more in this country because the media doesn't fucking like you than the people who literally are poisoning. We have twice the casualty rate of Vietnam in this country on a yearly basis from opioids alone. But you're more worried about this bullshit COVID thing that happened? That was so overinflated, that locked down our economy, we just continued to stimulate it? Yeah, you are right. There is conflict.
I love seeing people still wearing masks
Dude,
in cars.
And they're the
alone.
They're the people that also don't have a gun. So if you see somebody that's wearing a mask walking around, they're
gonna be the first to die.
They sit down to pee and they don't have a fucking gun. So have at it. Like if the apocalypse comes and you want to raid somebody's house, look for the guy with the mask. Period. I will tell you this, man. I like to see that more and more people are waking up. They're waking up to this bullshit, and they're also waking up to some of the Republican bullshit.
It's fucking.
It's like Tom Tillis, our congressman.
Fuck him.
He voted for the ERPO laws.
Yes.
The red flag laws.
Yep. He also voted for the fucking gas tax.
Yep.
Last year.
And he's a rhino, a Republican in name only. Yep. People are like, I don't want to talk about politics.
It was the infrastructure bill that got passed last year. He voted yes for that, and within that infrastructure bill was the gas tax.
We should do ERPO laws at some time. The red flag laws, the emergency restrictive protective orders, where they can take your guns and stuff. Because I would like to point out that everybody that's in favor of them are these doped up, DWI having cocksuckers. They're all down here, and they're all and they're like, we don't need to have guns. I was like, well, do you have a gun? And this one guy was like, well, yeah. I was like, okay. Well, you also have a DUI. You're also chemically dependent on SSRIs. You smoke weed. No. So those are 3 altering substances and your abusive behavior. And you're saying I should take somebody else's guns. ERPO laws.
This sounds familiar as to a person that used to do this podcast with me. Teetotal alcoholic with like 3 DUIs.
Yeah.
Army vet. That fucking also had a gun and would conceal carry while he was
shit-faced.
I'm pretty, his shit, it had to have been taken when he got that last DUI. And he was also the same guy that was sitting here that would be on board with fucking stupid shit. Like, I mean, he did not buy into political anything. Yeah. He tried to like steer clear of that completely. Because when I told you about this, like I wanted to have a no shit actual conversation on the podcast about what happened in Afghan.
Yeah.
And because it affected me, it affected fucking Nick. Nick was furious. He did 3 fucking pumps and he was in the push to fucking Marshall. Like it fucking affected him. It affected everybody that I was around, and myself too.
Yeah.
Because I lost dudes due to shit from there. And I was fucking pissed, just like everybody else was. And he didn't want to fucking talk about it because it was political.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not. It's the fucking truth.
It's the
dude.
same thing with all the people that are out here, all these liberals and progressives, when they sit there and they're like, this is horrible, what about this, what about that? I was like, what about Afghanistan? What about abandoning 35 million people to the predations of a bunch of savages? These people don't even have socks. They are cavemen. They are basically bearded Nazi cavemen. But horrible.
Wait a minute now. wait a minute. They were the new Taliban. They were women forward and progressive as they burned the shops of
They shut down the female schools.
Like female owned
And so
shops.
the people that will sit there and be like, that's okay, but you can't talk trash about Biden. I can't talk, Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake in the French Revolution, and they chopped her head off. Joe Biden is literally like, let them eat ice cream. What did they say? Jen Psaki said, go get a margarita and take a kickboxing class. They're telling me to get an electric car. Motherfucker, I can barely afford my car. Like, I can barely afford a fucking 2008 Toyota.
You know how expensive a battery is to replace on that shit?
Now I don't even think you're allowed to do it. Like, once the batteries are done, you have to get a new car for a Tesla.
$28,000.
That's right.
Yep. To replace a fucking battery.
Nickel cadmium too. That shit is.
You know how much a new fucking Tesla is?
Like 30 to 60?
35,000 for the baseline.
Tibet. Yeah.
Which is not, granted, that's not a bad price for a fucking
if you
car.
want to get an electric car.
They are nice cars minus the fact they're electric. Because I will never fucking own one. Because what happens if that bitch catches fire also?
Nickel cadmium. Fucking explosive. It's a heavy metal. It's dangerous.
What do we do with these batteries?
They go in third world countries.
Yeah.
They just go in the landfill and then they get in the water source. It's just my thing is this. If you want an electric car, cool. Get an electric car. You want to fucking bitch at me for having a combustion engine? Then give me a fucking electric car. Or give it to me.
Give me a good reason why
I should
after you go look at the research and everything else done, and you go to these countries where that fucking shit's disposed of, because they haven't figured out how to dispose of these lithium fucking batteries yet.
People forgot about the Texas when they had the grid go down. Remember, it froze? And so now they're having problems.
I remember that.
Yeah, they have problems in California right now.
I had fucking problems when that happened.
Yeah.
I was working at Academy, right? And because our Academy was started in Texas, our home store was in Katy, Texas. And the whole fucking grid had frozen up there. So I literally couldn't sell fucking guns because of that. I could not sell guns.
You couldn't, because you couldn't get anything done.
Our entire system, even here, was down because of that shit. And then you look at California with this shit, and it's like, we're going on a massive tangent. I love it.
It's fine.
I love fucking doing it.
Next time, let's not have anything, and we'll call it a rabbit hole episode.
I'm literally calling this a fucking rabbit hole episode because we've literally just gone.
I mean, we could talk about Ukraine. We could talk about George Soros. We could talk about the Constitution.
That's why I love having you on.
I think it's mainly the head injuries why I can't focus on a single fucking task.
I've had a few of them, and I also do the same thing. Definitely not as many as you. I don't know, that fucking hairline, man. You've got a hat.
There's not much upstairs, but what there is,
there's not much upstairs.
There is a burning hatred for people that look at me and have total disdain for me that I go to church. Like, does it offend you that much? It shouldn't. Like, think about it.
Wait, you go to church?
I go to church. But
am I supposed to be offended by this?
No.
Is it because you have tattoos?
No.
Is it because of the stash?
It's not.
Is it because of the fucking chops? It's because of the chops.
But I will tell you this, man. Like, knowing that you can have a civil conversation between people, and we disagree on some stuff. We definitely do. But the difference is that
everybody
you and me both have a baseline. There is a certain spot to where we stay in our conversation, our personal lives and stuff like that. A lot of people out there, they'll sit there and tell you that they take it up the ass by waving a flag in front of your face. But I can't tell you that I went to church because that's wrong.
They
want to teach 8-year-olds about sex and other stuff.
Yeah, don't get me started about that. My daughter starts fucking school next year, and I'm dreading every second of that.
Now the FBI can go after you as a concerned parent. Do you think that's right?
Absolutely not. I think, all right, and this kind of burns me a little bit too, because I originally, when I got out, I was sitting here kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what the fuck, like, my meaning was.
We all.
What
Yeah,
I
we all
wanted
do
to
that.
do. And I didn't want to go back in.
No. But you
Because I got out, right?
You
So I'm
still
like,
want that purpose.
FBI was on the thing, right?
Yeah.
And to get in, this is exactly why I even started college.
You had to have a degree.
I got I got a good one. And I got a good one for this before we close out.
Yep.
But no, I wanted to go to UNCW, get my fucking criminology degree, and then go be a contender to go to the FBI.
Yep.
Then I gave up on that completely because I was like, I slowly started like, corrupt.
Yeah. I looked at
no.
I looked at the FBI and I realized I don't like men. That and the FBI agents, all their wives have boyfriends. That's from me. Department of Injustice.
Half of them.
Dude, it's just insane. They're just a very corrupt organization. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't do
Fucking
that.
glad I didn't either. I wouldn't have lasted. Because I have a moral fucking compass and a soul.
And you're a true American who believes in the Constitution.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant by I have morals and a soul. No, fucking. So my friend Shay sent me. So she's still at UNCW, and any chance that I get to fuck with the instructors at UNCW, I will take.
That was the Air Force chick that you were telling me about.
Yes. She sent me a link for a sociology class to fill out. And the whole premise of this like survey that I took for her was, I guess, like different, like, what do you think a hookup is versus like casual sex in college versus a definition of a relationship. So one of the first things it asked was, what's your gender identity? I put, I was born with a penis, so male. And then for what was my sexual preference, it, went heterosexual, fucking homosexual, fucking asexual, pansexual, blah, all this other shit. It said other. So I clicked other and I put all of the time and biological women. And submitted that shit. And then, for the relationship part of it, it was, I literally broke down what it means for a relationship. Not from a standpoint of, like, I'm fucking you and we're dating, but it's like, we have a relationship. I have a relationship with my family. I have a relationship with Rachel. Like, that's what I broke it down as, not just that. And I scrolled down to see that it's more or less like just talking about fucking casual fucking hookups in college. Why are we? Why are you getting paid for this? Why?
You gotta see what some of the teachers are getting paid to teach nowadays in public schools.
All right, so like, I will always say that teachers are underpaid for the most part, except for, I guess, more or less now because they're teaching some stupid shit.
Well, you've got unions, and whenever unions are involved, by the way, fuck unions. Unions came to the United States well after the unions had their golden age. So the unions occurred back in the 1800s. The unions didn't occur in the United States well after that until communist sympathizers and agitators came over here.
I was about to say that's when unions really started, was because of communism.
So fuck unions, fuck socialists, and fuck communists.
All right, guys. So, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. My fucking brother from another mother. So, don't forget to go onto our new website, tactfullymisguided.com, and check out the merch. Very limited stock left. I've got a handful of mediums and larges left. If you motherfuckers actually go out and buy them, I may just order some more. With that, we'll see you next time. I've got a couple of things lined up over the next 2 weeks, so I'll be pushing out more content. Sorry it's been a little bit since we filmed. And Hunter, say say goodbye to the lovely people.
I'll see you guys. I won't say goodbye. I'll see you next time because I'll probably bring in something fucking weird like a shitty opinion and maybe a cell phone jammer. You guys want to see a cell phone jammer?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I can talk about that shit all day.
Fuck yeah. All right, guys. With that, we'll see you next time.